Welcome to REST, which stands for Resiliency and Empowerment Seminar today. It is a show where I interview CEOs of small, mid-sized businesses, heads of nonprofits, and other community leaders, shining a light on their organizations, as well as the personal journeys that these executives have made. And I'm your host of the show, Susan Gans, and I'm excited for today's conversation with Susan Montanaro. A little bit about Susan. She is a professional life coach, mentor, and certified holistic health and wellness counselor. It's her ability to see and connect all corners of a person's life that really enables her to guide her clients toward living life with purpose. I just love that. Her high emotional intelligence, coupled with compassion and intuition, allows her to attract, inspire, and uplift others. Susan is the host of her wonderful podcast, Dreams and Detours, which is a show about the life you've planned versus the one you are living. Susan is a former media executive, previously partnering with global brands to create relevant marketing messages to audiences nationwide. Her career has spanned branded entertainment to new media technologies, including artificial intelligence and experiential events. Susan completed her education at Fordham with a Bachelor of Arts degree in clinical social work, graduating with distinction. So welcome, Susan. It's so nice to interview, especially another Susan.
Yeah, thank you so much. And it's a pleasure to be here today, Susan.
Great. I'm glad to have you. So let's get started and dive right in. Take us back to those earlier days in your career where you were pursuing the media path. So tell us about that, and then tell us how you transitioned into what you're doing now.
Yeah, so getting into media, that was about 24 years ago. It was actually my second career. I had started off in the fashion industry after going to FIT. And when I started to pivot even early on in life, I had been facing media as an opportunity. It was really exciting and enabled me to dive into a very rich, content-based and just intelligent environment. I had the chance to work with some of the top brands in entertainment and really then engage with top leaders in that space entirely, and it afforded me this chance to learn from some of the best leaders that I could possibly ask for. It really led me to all of the success that I got to experience. But along the way, I did start to have interest in pursuing other roadways, other activities. And somewhere in the middle of that career is when I ventured off into this holistic health route. It was for personal reasons that I wanted to just engage, and I had a great amount of curiosity for myself. But going through that course and becoming certified in that area started to have me thinking that I could venture into another pathway and another career at some point in my life. It would be many years of side hustling as a wellness counselor that I then decided to finish my degree in clinical social work. And so that pathway for me was, okay, I would like to engage in psychotherapy on some level and take myself into a third chapter in my life and recreate myself, really. Having done that, I also recognized that there was this opportunity for me to combine my skill set and combine all that I had learned, and becoming a life coach made a lot of sense for me. So I officially launched in a full-time capacity just over a year ago.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And so it's been, a great experience. I had always been the go-to person in my day job. Yes. I was always, either cubicle or office counseling in some capacity with my colleagues. And so whether it was to discuss how to have a better conversation with management for a multitude of things from raises to promotion, or it could be about wellness and diet. But inevitably we would talk about all parts of a person. And I knew then that that would be really the work that I would be most successful in. And so that takes me to today.
Wow, what a story and a journey. I'm curious about what were the lessons that you learned from the media world that now translate into the work you're doing on a more holistic basis?
So as it relates to like crossing my skill set over, you know, I was on the sales side of the business. Becoming a really good salesperson means that you need to be a really good listener. It means that you need to fortify what your clients' needs are. It isn't about you. It isn't about what you're selling. I think initially when we get into sales, we're so nervous and we're so concerned about pitching correctly and having all of the answers about our TV shows and our ratings and our demographics. And those details are so critical. We're so nervous about being asked about what we're offering that we come just prepared for that conversation. But as you become seasoned and as you become just good in your job and have great leadership taking you down that pathway, you learn very quickly that you're there to serve and you are there to present solutions and you're there to listen and to understand what is said along with what is not being said. And that often can reveal a lot. And so
Yes.
I use those skills clearly in my work with clients. Often it is what they do not say that reveals some of the challenges that might need to be addressed. So along with those parts of my past, I also am clearly trying to utilize the media in a marketing capacity now to fortify myself. So there's also that other flip side of the tools of the trade that are coming into play for me.
Fantastic. And is there anything that's surprised you about being an entrepreneur, or anything that's particularly challenging that you didn't expect besides a pandemic?
Oh, well, yes. I think none of us could have expected this, right? I would say it's as hard as people have described in terms of getting things in motion and acquiring clients, participating and being, you know, invited to speak in different engagements. I think that part of launching a business is certainly has its moments and has its, time period to ramp up. And so that much is just true. I don't think it was as surprising as much as it was validated for me in my own, run here. But so far, so good. I've had years where I was a freelance consultant. So working from home or having my own space and my own time and calendar,
Yes.
not new to me. Completely love it. And I'm thrilled to have that again. Working from home and working on Zoom and utilizing technology. Again, for me, I actually do work often with clients on Zoom. So that hasn't changed either. But I don't get to attend meetings. I don't get to attend conferences or speak at engagements, and I don't get to see clients who would prefer to do face-to-face. Yeah.
Yes. Well, it's good that you've already been comfortable with the technology and have been used to making those connections, because that is a skill that does take some time to learn how to bond, especially as you're going deep into something. You're not just surface, you're going deep in, and you want to hold a safe space, I would imagine, for folks. So
absolutely. I mean, yeah, you're building into that relationship with someone where they can open up and be as raw and vulnerable as possible in order for the work to take place. For
right.
Sure.
For the magical growth to take place.
That's right.
Now, have you had certain mentors and sponsors throughout your career, even as now an entrepreneur, to help guide you through the way? And can you talk more about that?
Yes, absolutely. I have always had great leadership. And so whether they would end up becoming mentors or not, I at least had a variety of people that I could watch and listen to and often even mimic. Strong women, strong men. So that I'm very fortunate to say along the pathway of my career, I've been very fortunate to have that. And then of course there are several people in my life professionally, and now of course they're personal friends of mine, who have continued to lift me up, continued to knock on my door when opportunities were available, and continue to fortify me with knowledge and kindness and compassion and lessons. And so to them, I celebrate regularly and often, and I thank always from the bottom of my heart. And I feel just entirely blessed to be able to say, yes, I have tremendous, tremendous gathering and tribe in my life.
That's so special and so important. What brings up a question for me about, self-care, and that ability, for you to be fully present for your clients, right? It starts with you being very grounded. So can you share with us, what are some routines or rituals or things you might do on a daily basis to take care of yourself?
Yes, I'm got tons of things, because I actually believe that, like you've just stated, that I must have that routine in order to show up for others. And so I start off my day with meditation. I'm a Reiki practitioner, so I will either run my energy or I will do a simple meditation, but I do like to start my day that way. I make sure that I get sleep, which I know might just sound really simple and silly, but it's so important. And I don't think people realize how important it is to get good sleep. I also, I write in a journal each night, a grateful journal. I've been doing that for probably about 8 years now.
Wow.
It's a nightly ritual for me. For others, I know that I've heard it's a morning routine, but for me, I do it at the end of my day, and I just stay. It's really straightforward. The things that I'm grateful for that occurred that day. It could be connecting with someone on the phone. It could be that I cooked myself a good meal. It could be really anything, but it's just going back and being present and knowing that I can look at my day and say, these things worked out and I'm grateful for them. Sometimes I'm grateful for an unpleasant experience, but I'm acknowledging it and trying to get something out of it and learn from it. And so I find that that's a really super helpful place. And also doing the work that I do, for me, even when I'm showering, there's a ritual involved, right? Of washing off
Yes.
what I'm taking on from others. I have that, I don't know if you want to call it a magical skill or what have you, but I actually take on from others that energy of either their pain or their discomfort or their frustration and their anxiety. And so very often I am wearing a lot of that at the end of my day. And so I
Wow.
go through a process of kind of getting rid of that. I think those are all super helpful. And then of course, the regular routine of eating healthy and exercise as often as possible is super.
Yeah, super important of taking care of the mind, the body, the
Absolutely.
soul, all aspects from that holistic point of view. I want to talk about empowerment, because some of these rituals also are empowering rituals, right? So talk to me about what empowerment means to you.
Yeah, so empowerment for me has been about having, right, some audacity, taking steps toward something you desire. It used to be, if I wanted to perhaps get a new job or I wanted something different in my career space, I became really good at setting up meetings and going on interviews. And I would often get asked by friends and colleagues about that process and what I was doing. And I would explain to them, every time I take a step toward something that I want or something that is important to me, I'm empowering myself to believe in myself. And just the meeting alone, even if I don't get that job, makes me feel like I'm in control of me as well. And so I'm not leaving it up to anyone else. And so I think for me, empowerment just means taking steps toward all of the things that are out there for me, that I want and that I'd like to have, or the woman that I'd like to continue becoming. And so, yeah, that's where that sits with me.
What a fantastic.
I encourage others to do the same often.
Well, I was going to say this is just such a fantastic best practice. I've never quite heard empowerment described this way as you're describing it, but it certainly has resonated with me about, you know, taking these steps as control towards where you want to be, and it's from the power within.
It is. It's even the curiosity to go back to university as an adult learner and to excel in my coursework in a way that I hadn't known I was capable of to that degree. You know, it's the books I read now or the content I consume now to learn and to better understand others. I think that's all folded into empowerment because I feel more engaged. I feel more in the know, perhaps. And I could be that much more imaginative in my own mind and space.
Yes. And I love this idea of continuously learning. I know, like for me, right after business school, it was a rough 2 years. When I was entering business school, they were trying out a new curriculum and it was very intense. And so after that, I was like, I cannot, even though I immersed myself in a language program for 3 weeks after business school, like after that, I was just like, I need a break.
You didn't have the capacity.
So, and you know, I thought of, you know, back then there were certainly trainings I had for work and the content of my job, but it wasn't until a little later on that I really realized that we're all continuously learning. And as you know, somebody said, you're either learning and growing or you're dying. So I'd rather be in the learning and growing
100%.
camp, taking in whatever that is. And learning can take various forms. It doesn't have to be thought of in a traditional sense.
That's right.
I love that. Let's talk about resiliency. So you've had all these different transition points. What does resiliency mean to you?
Yeah, so I feel like I maybe I wasn't quite as resilient, or maybe perhaps I didn't feel as resilient when I was in my earlier professional and adulthood. Clearly, I must have been to get through it all, but
yes,
I think, it didn't feel as good. Maybe I didn't embrace it or respond as well. I think it didn't feel comfortable to me when I was younger, but now, absolutely. You know, I feel my heart and my mind are open. And by allowing myself to remain that way, it not only keeps me curious and allows me to learn, but when things become difficult or when we face adversity or when there are hard times, it's so much easier now to just stop, get a sense of what's going on, not see even a circumstance like the one we're in now with COVID. I don't see it as the end of the world. I believe in people. I believe that we want more and that people are generally good. And so for me, I feel that I'm both flexible and strong and will always be resourceful to carry on and to survive through these circumstances and through change, which is constantly happening and inevitable.
Yes, change change is a constant. I know that sounds bizarre, but when I've talked to clients over the years, I always say, like, change is a constant. We don't know what the content of the change is, but the change is constant. Just think about cell phones and how they've evolved over the years. Who would think that from one device you could actually do so many tasks that used to take, 4 different devices to do, that were much bigger than something in your hands? And people forget those sorts of like perspectives.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And,
Mm.
and I wouldn't want to be just grounded in one place, standing still anyway. I don't think that would feel good.
Well, I think with your value about learning and growth and things like that, that would go against your
Yeah,
grain.
probably.
So, last couple of questions. I would love to hear from your perspective what you would like our audience to take away from our conversation today.
Yeah. So I think, the thing that pops into my head first is, anything is possible. Clearly. Expected or unexpected, planned or unplanned, right? Anything is possible. I think that, with every day's a new day. And if you have, the opportunity to wake up, everything then is possible to either start or quit a bad habit or believe in yourself. I think, those are some of the key tenets that I try to share with my clients, and certainly my more immediate tribe know about me. I think it's cool to be kind, right? Those are just things that I try to live by and believe in. If you are looking for change, if you are feeling stuck, if you feel layered and that there are so many components and parts to change and therefore you don't want to because of the fear, I implore people to reconsider that. I think that life is often, it's short, and I think we often learn that. And certainly now, I would say that everyone deserves to live as good a life as possible, and that we need to take charge and make some sometimes difficult decisions, but that those things are possible. And even small tweaks and shifts can often bring way more joy than you may have ever thought possible.
So what I'm getting from you is just even small steps that bring lots of possibility, and that every day is a new chance to realize those possibilities. And
Absolutely.
it doesn't have to be some big save the world type of action, but some action that's in service to whatever it is that you want to achieve for yourself.
Absolutely. Every single step we take is a stackable gesture. It's all, every step I take and you take, it's a collective gesture, right? And we are community. So I think that it doesn't have to be in comparison to people in your social feeds or other people out in the world. It doesn't have to be grand. It just needs to be good for you. And that's good enough.
Yes. Be good for you, being good enough. I like
Absolutely.
it.
Absolutely.
So I want to thank you so much, Susan, for sharing your journey with us. I want people to be able to find you. So how can they find you?
Thank you. Yes. So I have, as you mentioned, a weekly podcast called Dreams and Detours. You can find it through any of your podcast app or on Apple Podcasts. I also run my counseling business and coaching business through Same. So it's Susan at dreamsdetours.com, and reach out. I am always available to have a conversation.
Fantastic. So again, that's dreamsdetours.com to learn more about Susan's podcast. You could also find her on LinkedIn under Susan Montanaro. Thank you so, so much. It's been a delight to speak with you today. And until the next rest conversation.